big of a difference to kind of throw the whole bat industry, I think, on its head.
The way it changes the game is it gets people talking about it. And the way it changes the game for a player individually at the big league level is it means that I can step into the box and I don't have to think about anything else anymore. Is this bat worth it? Is the bat going to help me make better decisions? Like, if I just believe that I am in the best position possible, well, then the bat is worth way more than probably what you paid to get it. So it's a reason why confidence, unfortunately, it can't be measured, right? We can only subjectively ask people, but like, those guys making the switch or not making the switch simply because they're at the last stage of their career. Like, you have MVP candidates in their prime making switches to this bat, and they're not doing it on a hunch, right? Like, they are probably putting in the testing and the protocols possible to make the best decision. So the trickle down effect is the game grows, and I think that's the only thing that really matters.
So exciting technology, and we'll see where things go from here. Live look at San Antonio. You see the Goodyear blimp circling yet again ahead of the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars facing off in the NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship game tonight. Florida looking for their third national championship. It would be their first since they went back-to-back in '06 and '07. It would actually be the SEC's first national championship. The closing bell of the New York Stock Exchange on this Monday afternoon. They are clapping. They are smiling, but not a whole lot to clap and smile about. Take a look here at the closing numbers. Not as bad as we have seen in some of the past few days, but down yet again nonetheless. That is one of our big stories today that we are tracking as we begin our top 4 at 4 here on this Monday afternoon, 4 o'clock. We appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. And joining us live now for today's top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom, is Fox 35 News anchor John Brown. And John, we appreciate you being here.
You misunderstand. They were clapping because it was only down 300 points today. There's
Right.
reason for celebration. There's champagne popping all over right now. Well, yeah, President Trump, on one of our monitors, President Trump's still meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. There we have it. Again, he's been addressing these tariff issues all day. That's been the roller coaster reason. Again, additional tariffs on China of 50% is what he said could be coming if Beijing does not withdraw the 34% tariffs that they announced against the U.S. last week. He actually tweeted, or didn't tweet out, I guess you should say, put it on his social media. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above the already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April the 8th, 2025, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April the 9th. He also says that talks with China are pretty much over right now until they finish this up. So again, that's what sent the stock market going crazy here is these are coming in. But he also did make some news there in that press conference when he said the president of Japan is actually coming over here to talk. So whether that's, and again, a lot of economists think that these tariffs aren't going to be here for long. The president says they are. A lot of people don't think so. They think they're negotiating chips. And if you get Japan to come over and talk, maybe that eases the China situation. But either way, it doesn't matter to people right now. They're just seeing their 401k and their other stock portfolios go down, down, down. And again, the economist I was listening to today on Fox Business said he doesn't know when the end is. They're always looking for an end. He says he doesn't know yet because we keep finding a different company that's been impacted, and that drives it even lower. So there we have it.
One of the other interesting things I think today, you saw a little bit of a little blip of green for a little
Right.
bit in that stock market and in the numbers for today, and it was because there were reports earlier today that Trump was considering a 90-day tariff pause. And then we saw from the rapid response account from the White House saying, wrong, fake news. And so for temporarily, and I'll pull the numbers back up again, you see there was some green, there was some optimism. And then when the White House came out and said, no, that's not true, and he confirmed that again this afternoon, not considering a pause, things dropped once again.
To me, it's just baffling how the market moves just because the guy who posted this name, I believe, is Walter Bloomberg. So everybody thought, oh, it's Bloomberg.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's with the Bloomberg Financial Group. So that sent it up, saying that there was going to be a pause on these. And again, that it just shows. How do you say? So one economist I always use for a lot of my stories says the stock market is not the economy. And it shows how fickle this is, because an economy is based off of things that go slow and ebb and flow. It's actual money. It's things people do. It's Wall Street versus Y'all Street. I love that one. Wall Street is not Y'all Street. Y'all Street is expensive groceries. So this just shows how fickle this is, that somebody who nobody even knows posted something anonymously, and it's caused that to go up. So again, that shows it's not the economy. It's all speculation on what's actually going on. That's why so much of this is bogus to so many people.
Much more.
It hurts. Don't get me wrong. It hurts, but it is. It's bogus money at times.
Well, you see how volatile it is, and what can change on a dime just because of, like you said, that just some person sending that out on social media.
Somebody got rich in in 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're
now,
probably not
whether
wrong.
this was done on purpose, I mean, you got to wonder about that too. Was that manipulation? Anyway, somebody made some money there for a minute. Now it's gone either way. So, all right, let's talk about our next story here. The founder of Westgate Resorts, David Siegel, passed away over the weekend at the age of 89. Now, in addition to, of course, his timeshare company, he was also, of course, there is him and his wife, Jackie Siegel. They founded an addiction prevention foundation called Victoria's Voice. It provides drug education, addiction prevention support to meet the needs of communities and at-risk families. Of course, that's because their daughter Victoria died at the age of 18. Siegel, by the way, there he is, just a legend in this industry. When you read his biography, it's fascinating how he did it. Just kept going and going and going and grew it to this. Founded back in 1982, and now was the largest privately held timeshare company in the world and one of the largest resort developers in the United States. And then Jackie Siegel talked to her own Amy Caulfield today, and Amy said, it's pretty emotional going down there and talking to her.
Yeah, and one of the things they talked about were the children they have together. I want to play for you a little soundbite, a little bit of an extended soundbite where Jackie talks about that and how she thinks that it was their children that kind of kept him fighting and holding on probably longer than maybe he otherwise would have.
I think that having these children really gave him the strength. I mean, that made him fight, because if he didn't have these children, I don't know that 5 years ago he would have fought as hard as he has for his life. My two boys, David and Daniel Siegel, the two older ones, they're 24 and 25. They took over the construction of Versailles. They're also doing future construction projects for Westgate. And our surprise to my husband was to get a CO to be there by May 3rd, so we can live in Versailles as a family. And unfortunately that didn't happen, but we were able to take him a few weeks ago when he could still speak and open his eyes, and he looked and he said, and we took a video, thank God, how impressed he is with Versailles and how proud he is of the boys, and that he now has full trust of them being the next generation for the Westgate family and legacy.
So talking about how she believes that he was saying that he knows that they're in good hands now.
You know what just hit me is listening or seeing all that is, Orlando kind of came about in 1970, right, when Disney was born, right in that area. All the builders of Orlando after that moment are getting to the point, they're legends. You think about Harris Rosen, who just passed away, and now Siegel. I don't know why it hit me, but this era of these people who helped make Orlando what it is today, they're not getting up there in age. And a lot of cities saw that a long time ago. We're still a new city, so we're getting to witness some of the founders, grow older and seeing how their legacy is. That's pretty interesting.
That is an interesting point in time.
All right, so everybody was at the beach this weekend. Everybody I know.
I was at the beach.
I was at the beach this weekend. So was a 33-year-old man from Ocala at the beach, just laying out, enjoying his Saturday, and he was run over by a vehicle that was trying to back up into a parking spot. That's the man right there. All right, the incident happened around 10:45 near the Cardinal Drive beach ramp there in Ormond. He's 33 years old, just sunbathing. The Jeep apparently traveled outside of the travel lanes trying to back into a parking spot and ran right over him. Suffered injuries to his thigh and his arm. Transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but did have surgery. Now, the driver's a 61-year-old woman. She's from Ormond Beach. She stayed there, cooperated with the investigation. No signs of impairment, but she did get cited for careless driving. So, but yeah, that's not what you expect when you go to the beach. We all know driving beaches. We have these incidents every year, but man, that hits close to home because I saw everybody's social media this week, and I'm like, all right, we're going to. If everybody's gonna be out here, we're going to.
It was definitely weather-wise perfect weekend to be out there, but scary situation. And Fox 35's Marie Ettinger had the chance to speak with him via Zoom, still in the hospital, recovering. When he kind of talked through what it was like when he felt the tire hit his head. Let's listen.
I was laying face down. I had been tanning on my back, and then I turned over. And it was around 10 in the morning at this point. I'd gotten there. I'm from Ocala, so I'd driven up at like 5:30 in the morning to catch the sunset and just enjoy the beach. And so around this time, it's about 10 o'clock. And I can't simulate it properly, but I had my right arm, which is in a cast over here. My right arm was up like this with my head turned. And next thing you know, it was like a nightmare. Like I think I had fallen asleep a little bit, and then all of a sudden a tire was going over my head and my arm. And I was it took me a second to realize what was going on. And as I'm realizing that, it's also going over my right lower leg. And so I can't move, obviously, because I'm pinned.
Described it like a nightmare.
Right.
It is scary to hear him describe that.
But I will say, it was so crowded there this weekend. You saw it as well. I don't know if you were on the drive beach.
Yeah.
But my wife and I were just talking about how, a kid darts out right now with all the cars there. Yeah. And there were people, you started spilling. There were so many people spilling into the traffic lanes there at New Smyrna Beach. And so where you were almost in one lane at some point. It starts to get a little creepy for everybody, right?
Right.
It got a bit too much for us.
A little crowded, and then when the tide comes up, there's less beach anyway, and so everything just kind of squeezes into that available area. It is kind of scary.
Yeah, I can't imagine that one. All right, so let's talk about the big game tonight. We're talking basketball. Okay. The Gators are number one, of course, and Houston Cougars, number one in their bracket. They're going to meet for the NCAA tournament title game tonight, Alamo Dome. A little too close for Houston there, beginning at 8:50 our time. Gators, by the way, slight 1-point favorite against the Cougars on the last at the last check there. Over-unders 141.5. So what, 70 points each, something like that. So, but I will say, I have the Gators in two of my brackets all the way through, and I had Gators beating Duke. And so, actually, I'll be honest, I went to bed. Minute left, I went to bed. It was late. Gosh. I had a big day.
And you probably felt okay.
I woke up next morning, I'm reading the story. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Duke won. No, the comeback. So that was wild. So we'll see what happens here, but I do have to give shout-outs to Laura Blanchard, our meteorologist. She had almost a perfect bracket this year. I think she had 3 out of 4, and then she picked Houston. She has the Gators beating Houston, so she's got that one. But I'm like, she's like dominating this year.
Crazy.
Forecast. That's what she said. She
forecasting.
She saw it coming.
It's
huge.
That's good, perfect for a promo.
We need a promo. She saw it coming, and she picked it. Wow.
But that Houston defense, though, is tough.
Yeah.
We know they have done just a great job at shutting down opponents. And so Todd Golden was asked about that at a news conference yesterday. How do you prepare for a defense like Houston's? And here's what he said.
Yeah, no, they're the best defensive team in America, and they have just a great identity as a program of just being both physically and mentally tough, and that's something that we've tried to pride ourselves on this year. And Houston, I would say, is a great example of that. And not only this year, but Coach Sampson and his program have done it for a long time now. And talk about resilience and toughness. I feel like they showed that. In a big-time way last night. I think they were down 14 at one point and down 7 with a minute and a half to go, and just never quit, never gave up, didn't hang their heads, and made some big-time winning plays down the stretch to take that game away from Duke. I think your comparison is right on. I think Tennessee is a very good comparison in terms of just kind of their culture and their identity and their toughness and the way they defend. And, we'll look at that film a little bit for us as a way to attack it a little bit. But, Houston obviously is exceptional, and it's going to be a big challenge for us.
So the lesson, don't go to bed until the game is over.
Well, we talked, I think it was Friday, right, about how kind of boring the games had been. Yeah. Everything's a blowout, no real upsets. But we have the 4 best teams in it, and that's what made for a weekend of great basketball. Yeah. Tonight, oh my gosh, this is going to be electric. So.
All bets are off, but I'd have a hard time picking against Walter Clayton Jr., the tournament that he has had.
Smooth, yeah. He's been good. So,
yeah.
All right, we'll know tomorrow.
All right, that is today's Top 4 at 4. John, thanks. We'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after that.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren joins me now. And Noah, we had a beautiful and pretty summer-like weekend, but things are getting ready to change.
Big time there, Garrett, and just in time for the national championship tonight. As just heard your previous conversation, piggybacking off of that. If you do have plans in the Gainesville area to head out for any watch party or restaurant or bar with fam or friends or anything on campus, there will be some weather impact during the game if you're heading out. We'll get to that in a second. Temperatures are in the 80s in most places. It's really humid out. A little shower south of Bithla, a little shower by Ocala. Not seeing anything notable right now across the core of our area. But here's Gainesville. Here's our line of showers and storms to the west. And if you look on that slight red color, that is actually a tornado watch that is in effect. You see there for Lafayette County up towards Hamilton County, Taylor County. No tornado watch in effect for the Gainesville area, but this line of storms is weakening right now, but it will be in Alachua County at the UF campus probably sometime between 8 and 9 p.m. So if you're heading out for a watch party, bar, or restaurant, there will be a downpour, some lightning. Don't let that catch you off guard. Just factor that into your plans. There's the tiniest chance for a briefly severe storm around Alachua County, but I think really the better risk for that is going to stay northwest of our immediate area. You can see there is that tornado watch now till 6. Very small area of rotation. You see that green there approaching Perry, but that is about it. All right, so here's the timing of that front. Notice Gainesville for the national championship about 8:30. Tip-off is going to be right before 9. Remember, the Natty is a late tip, Eastern time zone, so the game hasn't even started yet, but if you're heading out for a watch party or plans, grab an umbrella so you don't get to where you're going and you're drenched and soaked. And there could be some lightning and thunder, locally gusty winds, and it'll rain in Gainesville for probably the first half, even 3/4 of the game. So you'll probably be greeted with some rain when you're heading home later tonight. The front gets to Orlando by 1 in the morning, but notice it's really pretty much faded away by then. Then going into tomorrow morning, still kind of cloudy, a northwest wind, and there'll be some showers to come by during the day tomorrow from southwest to northeast, but nothing major. So tomorrow, still mostly cloudy, a passing few showers, mainly on the Space Coast, I think. Wednesday is brighter, but there will still be a chance of showers, but it's very specifically only really on like the East Coast. So if you're in Orlando, it's probably dry. If you're on, let's say, Titusville or Cocoa Beach, you'll probably see a few showers Wednesday. Everybody's brighter Thursday, sunny, low 80s. Much warmer Friday, sneaky little warm day here ahead of a front. Small chance for a shower in the evening, and then it gets a little bit of a winter vibe for the weekend, Garrett. Check out Sunday morning. 53, that's Orlando. Remember, these numbers are for Orlando, so north of the city's cooler. We could have some 40s for morning temps in the Villages, Gainesville, Ocala, Palm Coast, Daytona Beach. So if you're a morning runner, like to work out in the morning, you do some morning jogs, with a dog or anything, Sunday morning, Garrett, you'll probably be reaching for a sweatshirt or a jacket, which is crazy how hot it was last week. But that chill will be short-lived just for the weekend. But certainly it looks like Saturday and Sunday will be fantastic.
Quite a stark change from what we have been dealing with for a little bit there. But Noah, too, points to the north of us, but still in some southern states dealing with absolutely unreal flooding from storms there.
Yeah, and the good news is that's going to wind down now, and we're not getting any impact majorly from that here. But yeah, that part of the country has been hit a lot in recent years. Yeah. That's where I lived before here. I could speak to you. I can tell you that those people are tired of that. They've been hammered it's like the last 5 years, there's been 1 in 1,000-year floods 5 times now. So yeah, really disheartening in that part of the country where it's just seemingly has been hit the same area more or less repeatedly every 6 to 12 months. So hoping that's not again soon.
Yeah, it's tough. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, this morning, university presidents from the Independent Colleges and Universities of Florida, that is ICUF, held a virtual news conference to talk about their concerns with the Florida budget proposal, specifically cuts to EASE grant money. So EASE, E-A-S-E, it's the Effective Access to Student Education grant, and it applies to private, nonprofit Florida colleges and universities. This group says it could impact more than 21,000 students plus thousands of faculty from 15 different Florida universities. ICUF says that EASE recipients schools produce 25% of Florida's teaching degrees and 28% of Florida's nursing degrees. I want to play for you a little bit of that virtual news conference from this morning where they outlined some of their concerns and what they want to see happen.
JU in the north part of the state down to UM. Most of our schools are older than the state university schools. We're the established nonprofit sector in Florida. We have 180,000 students, 200 plus campuses in Florida, on campus sites around Florida, 37,000 employees. Statewide, we've got a $40.4 billion economic impact, and we produce 321,000 jobs throughout Florida. Just a comparison, we produce about 20% of all the baccalaureate degrees in Florida and about 1/2 of all the graduate degrees in Florida. So that's a quick background on who our sector is. What is EASE? Jeff gave you the acronym, Effective Access to Student Education. Like in K-12, Florida has a higher education voucher. The higher education voucher, though, is much older. It's been successful since 1979. It was passed in 1979. It's been working great since then to create access with a great return on investment for Florida. $3,500 per student is the current award for EASE. And if you are a Florida resident at one of our schools, you get EASE. What happened in the budget? Something happened in the higher ed budget that not a lot of folks are talking about, and that is what Jeff mentioned. There's concerning language in the budget that cut 15 of the 30 ICUF institutions out of EASE. That's 21,836 students will lose the award. Many of these students are in high demand degrees like nursing, teaching, pursuing a pilot degree. All of these degrees, there's a drastic shortage in Florida. So this is going to impact workforce. It's going to impact access for these students to pursue their degrees. And it also has a tremendous return on investment for the state of Florida because we produce these degrees for less than 2% of the higher education budget. The last thing I'll say is the award travels with the student. This is a student award similar to Bright Futures and Florida's private student assistance grant. And what's happening in the House budget raises tuition on 22,000 students, and it's going to impact their ability to pursue these high demand degrees that Florida needs.
The proposed House budget would cut EASE and leave nearly 22,000 students across 15 colleges and universities with, at best, a much more difficult path to completing their education. And for many, it would end their path to higher education permanently. So just to add a little bit more context to what Bob explained, it may be helpful to continue on this parallel to the K-12 voucher that we're also familiar with. EASE is about student choice. It travels with the student. So imagine if we started telling families that they could use the K-12 voucher for one private school, but then not use it at the one across the street. Or if after many years of using the state-funded voucher to choose which school was best for them, now we tell students which school they can or cannot attend for college. It just doesn't track. It doesn't track with the priorities around school choice that have been made very, very clear. Obviously, there are many factors at play here, but more than any other, as Bob mentioned, a cut to EASE of this nature would gut our state's critical workforce pipeline. Students from ICOF schools earn 28% of all nursing degrees and 25% of all teaching degrees that are awarded in Florida. Eliminating the grant potentially removes a quarter of the future workforce from these high demand industries. Not to mention the enormous demand in the state for IT, AI, cyber experts, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and so on, all of these fields would be impacted. Now, many students also rely on ease to enroll in specialized programs that are only offered at private institutions. And the data tells us that they stay right here in Florida. 82% of ease recipients reside in Florida after graduation to work, to serve, and to lead in our communities. This is talent that will go elsewhere without the support that ease provides. Bringing this very briefly to the local level, at a smaller Hispanic-serving university like Barry University, located in Miami, this year alone, over 1,000 Barry students who are these future professionals relied on ease to make their education possible. Think about the incredible amount of work, the sacrifice that went into making college a reality for these students, only to have funding disappear before their journey is complete. It would be devastating. It would be devastating to these students and to their families and to so many others throughout the state to lose this funding and the opportunities that it provides at this time.
That was at the news conference earlier as they talked about their concerns. We heard from the president of Barry University, also the chancellor of Kaiser University, Barry University in Miami-Dade. We know Kaiser University has a number of campuses around the state. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Community in Brevard County is rallying to try to save a dolphin that has been trapped. Fox 35's Esther Bauer joins us live now via Zoom. And Esther, what happened?
Yeah, so we love our wildlife here in Brevard County, and we love our sea creatures. And unfortunately, we're dealing with a situation that's being talked about a lot on social media. Some video is now circulating of a dolphin that is still swimming, thankfully, but its tail has about 12 to 15 wires of fishing line going around, as well as a hook and lure trailing behind. And so a fisherman, Sean Beard, actually took this video, posted it to social media, and is rallying the community, please keep your eyes out for this dolphin in distress. Ultimately, he had a better vantage point than we did with the videos he took, but he says he's starting to see the skin getting ripped off on that tail. And his big fear and why he's really racing to try to save the dolphin is if the circulation is cut off by the fishing line, could the dolphin's tail ultimately fall off and we see the dolphin not make it? So as soon as he posted this has been a couple weeks since, but the efforts are really ramping up to try to save it. He reached out to every official that he could. The FWC was first. They then referred him to SeaWorld. And I spoke with a spokesperson from, it's the Hubs SeaWorld Research Institute. They are leading the way on this, but unfortunately, since his initial sightings, the wind just has been too choppy for them to get out there and try to go through their steps to save the dolphin. So now what they're really relying on is the public's help with any kind of sightings. The location of those videos, that specific seawall, is Sykes Creek Parkway and State Road 520 in Maryland. That's where he thinks this dolphin was spending quite a bit of time. So if you're in that area, just being on the lookout for a dolphin still swimming, at least it was a couple weeks ago, but it has fishing line really doing severe damage to its tail. And also, fisherman brought up a good point is what if a fish gets caught on that hook and then both of them are kind of trailing along? So definitely a lot of goals out there, a lot of community support, shares on social media, and now SeaWorld, trying to track this dolphin. They did tell me they are anticipating a break in the weather by the end of the week, so the wind should calm down to give them enough flexibility to try to get out there and see if they can spot and save the dolphin. But Garrett, I have bad news. They also told me this is not the only dolphin they're tracking wrapped up in fishing line. I was told there are numerous right now in Brevard County in the Indian River that are dealing with a similar situation. So really just being aware if you're fishing, boating, on the lookout for these trapped dolphins. And another reminder is if you are fishing, and you do happen to catch an animal in a line, don't just cut it off like that. Try to alert anyone, FWC, any wildlife rehab rescue organization sooner rather than later. They will come out and try to get it taken care of as fast as possible. So we don't have a situation like this where now we're going on how many weeks and just, fear and concern is growing of will time run out before we save the dolphin.
Esther, I know you mentioned they said there are multiple that they're aware of right now. Is this a common problem?
I mean, we hear about, humans hurting our wildlife, hurting sea life. I think about sea turtle season starting to ramp up. I think anytime, we leave something behind, this one might have just been caught, or maybe someone cut off line and then that got wound up. But definitely is a problem that I think we see happen more than we want to see happen. So just being good stewards, if we go into their habitat to fish, to boat, to recreate, just getting rid of our stuff. And if you do end up catching any, sea creature, not just kind of cutting it off and moving on, but definitely trying to get the proper people involved sooner rather than later so that we don't see a crisis start to happen.
Last thing, Esther, and what's the prognosis for this dolphin? Are they optimistic that if they're able to get out there later this week, everything will be okay, or where do things kind of stand with hoping to free this and it continue to live a happy life?
I know. I think that question, I don't know if I can answer just because the sightings have been so sparse. I mean, this is now a couple weeks, so I'm just not quite sure. And the fisherman, unfortunately, hasn't seen it since his first initial sighting 2 weeks prior. So definitely the researchers are still committed to getting out there, having hope. Yes, this dolphin will still be found, but what they're really relying on are people sightings, and there haven't been any additional reported. Maybe the dolphin was able to free itself. The fisherman thinks that's unlikely because it was wound around so tight. I mean, the sad part would be Has it stopped swimming? Has it already passed? Definite some questions that are still out there. I think if we had another sighting since the first, that would help maybe calm some fear. Researchers are still committed. The fisherman is still committed, but he's just really pleading with the public. If you see something, say something.
Yeah, hard to know without them being able to spot it. But we certainly hope that everything is well and they're able to free that dolphin. Fox 35's Esther Bauer had some connection with issues with you there at the end, but we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Absolutely, and we'll keep you posted if they save the dolphin.
All right, good stuff, Esther. Thanks. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back with more right after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. 71 degrees and fair in San Antonio ahead of tonight's national championship game between the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars. Tip-off 8:50 tonight. We're going to be watching that one closely as the Florida Gators try to bring home their third national championship, their first since 2007 when they had gone back-to-back in 06 and 07 there. And trying to win the SEC's first national championship since 2012 when the University of Kentucky won, and I was a junior at the University of Kentucky, just to show how long ago that was. Well, also in some other sports news, if you are a baseball fan and have been watching Major League Baseball at all, you have no doubt heard the talk about torpedo bats. They are baseball bats with a different size and a little bit of a different feel to them, and it making a change. The theory is that it moves part of the bat into an area where they make more contact, and so we have seen some success from it from players already. More players adopting it since the season went on, but we wanted to know how this works. What is the science behind it? Will we continue to see more players continue to pick this up? And so we spoke with Driveline Baseball in Tampa, and they talked about why this works and how to use it and where things go from here. Interesting conversation. Let's listen.
What we're doing with the torpedo bats, or what they're designing them to do, is just shifting the mass distribution more towards the handle, I guess you could say. So when we shift the mass distribution, we see some different physics behind the way the bat swings, the way the bat moves through space. Things such as lower moment of inertia, which essentially moment of inertia is just an object's ability to resist rotational acceleration. So in other words, higher moment of inertia means it's harder to get that bat moving. So when we move the mass kind of more towards the handle, it's easier to get the bat moving. So for these guys, not only does it maximize kind of their sweet spot per se and where they hit the ball, but it's also making the bat easier to swing.
And so what's the science behind it? You touched on it a little bit there, but how is this helping?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? I think the one big thing to probably make everybody aware of when it comes to changing any implement, changing any bat in a guy's hand is like, it's always going to come down to what is the best thing for that hitter. And a lot of that comes down to, we can do bat fittings. We can find out the exact bat dimensions, weight distribution that is probably going to be most beneficial for your swing. But really at the end of the day too, it all comes down to what a player is feeling in the moment. What is he feeling in his hands? How does that bat become an extension of the player? And I think like for the longest time, you've just had guys kind of rotate through bats in a dugout, right? I think Bryce Harper is pretty famous for this if you haven't noticed it, but like we'll pick up any bat in a dugout, change his bat midseason to one of his teammates' bats. One, that's really cool because it shows you a guy who's willing to pick up implements and basically find a barrel with anything. But I also think in the moment, it's about finding what speaks to you. So when we talk about, the torpedo bats, we can also talk about any training implement that we have inside of Driveline. Like the higher moment of inertia bats are going to be the barrel load object. Really hard to get that thing moving. But when we shift the weight down to the handle and we go to our handle loaded object, a little bit easier to get that barrel moving to the point you need it to be. So it's cool on a couple fronts. One, it gives you way more confidence standing in the box that you have something that kind of fits into the game plan or the biomechanics and data suggest that this is going to be best for your swing. And the other part of it is these guys have been using training bats for years. So really, you're just replicating a feel that a guy may get in a cage with a handle loaded object and be like, man, this feels really good in my hand. I move it fast. I hit balls hard. Well, I just want the same thing out of my game bat now, because the minute I go back to my game bat, I'm talking about maybe a more even loaded barrel. So the big thing now is making sure that when guys are competing at the highest levels, well, now they've got implements that can match up to feels. They got implements that are backed up by data, giving them their best chance when they step in the box.
So compared to a regular baseball bat, how does it feel differently when you're holding it in your hands and when you're swinging it?
Yeah, I think, this is obviously from like years of experience now with using different weighted objects, even inside of our own gym. But anything that shifts the weight down towards the handles almost feels like my body is in more control of where that bat is in space than potentially something that is super end loaded, where I know that I have to have my arms, hands way more involved, right? So what we're talking about really is motor learning. How does your brain process movements? And proprioception, which for those who don't know what that word is, it's just basically your body's understanding of where it's at in space. It's why I'm able to touch my nose without trying to go find my nose, right? So anything that moves that weight, the feeling towards a body for some guys is going to be a better feeling because they have pretty good awareness of where the barrel is in space. For guys that lack that feel of knowing where that barrel is, because in the course of a long season, biomechanics will change, fatigue sets in. You might see guys use different bats throughout the season just based on fatigue levels alone.
Some people say these bats should be banned. They shouldn't be allowed in actual gameplay. What do you say?
I'd say you'd be banning a lot of players and a lot of teams from using them. I also just think generally they're not a cheat code, right? Like there's so many more things that go into really good batted ball efficiency than just simply moving where the weight is on a bat. I'll use the term cheat code, right? It's a cheat code for a player to be standing in a box using something that he knows is going to make him feel better. It's going to make him maybe feel more efficient. And at the end of the day, these bats are all MLB tested. And if you don't know the MLB testing protocol for bats, it is extensive. There are 1,000 rules and regulations you need to jump through, which means if MLB is approving these bats, it's because they've gone through the proper protocols and the proper channels. They haven't changed anything. What they may have done is allowed players who weren't able to maximize their batted ball efficiency because of, we'll call it poorer contact, right? Like a lot of hand jam shots, a lot of end cap shots, maybe a lot of flare slice balls. Now you're starting to see by just simply changing the weight distribution in a bat, guys are able to do certain things. Their biomechanics are being recruited a little bit more efficiently and differently than they had in the past. So I think the bigger cheat code is maybe seeing guys live up to the potential that they always thought they could be by just simply being their best versions in the box. But I mean, this absolutely adds no cheating to the game at all. And I would say that if we're going to be arguing about torpedo bats in the game, then there's 1,000 other things that we could be arguing too. And at some point, it's just not going to be a game anymore that's played. It's just going to be a heavy regulated sports league that nobody wants to watch anyway. So what's been good about it is for everybody who's not a fan of it, a whole lot of people are a fan of it, and whatever gets people engaged in the game and talking. I mean, baseball this year seems to be one of the first years that I can remember in a while where the active users of just participating in conversation of the game on social media is at its highest. Like there's a lot of good things coming, and if it takes something kind of new and innovative to make people talk, then I'm all for it, man. And I would say if people have, an issue with a torpedo bat, I would love to show them what our bazooka bat internally looks like, because that thing is a 34-inch, 50-ounce bat. It looks like a heat-seeking missile. So there's a lot of ways to go about it, man. But it's anything that's better for the game is going to make the game great.
So where do things go next with this then?
The thing is, you can only really shift the mass distribution of the bat so much. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking 2-inch, maybe even less shifts with the barrel. And at the end of the day, kind of like Travis said, is like the guys at the MLB level, they know how to hit. So if whether we shift the barrel an inch, 2 inches, like yeah, it might feel better for them, but realistically, we're not going to get into a world where we have bats customized to the millimeter, because at the end of the day, the physics changes from bats changed by that little of a margin. Like we're not seeing that big of a difference to kind of throw the whole bat industry, I think, on its head.
The way it changes the game is it gets people talking about it. And the way it changes the game for a player individually at the big league level is it means that I can step into the box and I don't have to think about anything else anymore. Is this bat worth it? Is the bat going to help me make better decisions? Like if I just believe that I am in the best position possible, well, then the bat is worth way more than probably what you paid to get it. So it's a reason why confidence, unfortunately, it can't be measured, right? We can only subjectively ask people, but like those guys making the switch are not making the switch simply because they're at the last stage of their career. Like you have MVP candidates in their prime making switches to this bat, and they're not doing it on a hunch, right? Like they are probably putting in the testing and the protocols possible to make the best decision. So the trickle down effect is the game grows, and I think that's the only thing that really matters.
Essentially, what we're doing with the torpedo.
So interesting conversation there, because it really is all the talk of baseball. Going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Speaking of all the talk, here's a live look at Epic Universe, and it is pretty windy out there right now on our camera along iDrive, and so I am going to go ahead and take it off of that because that's making me dizzy just trying to watch it. But there has been a lot of talk about Epic Universe, and over the weekend, for the first time, cameras were allowed inside. We got our first look for media previews. So we're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but when we come back, we're going to show you a couple more of the worlds that Fox 35's David Martin got to experience over the weekend as he looks at Epic Universe and the opening of Universal's newest theme park, now less than 50 days away. So keep it right here on Fox 35 News Plus.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Another live look at Epic Universe, and I promise it was not this windy just 2 seconds ago when I decided to go ahead and show that camera. But as soon as I took it, of course, it starts being really windy again and making us dizzy. So I'm sorry about that. But we did get our first look over the weekend inside Epic Universe through the eyes of Fox 35's David Martin and Paolo as well. They took us through a number of all of the different worlds that you can experience. Earlier today, we played Celestial Park for you. We showed you, what else did we show you? We showed you Dark Universe in our 11 o'clock show. We showed you Super Nintendo World in the 2 o'clock show. I want to show you now Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, the new Wizarding World of Harry Potter park that is one of those worlds at Epic Universe. Here it is. Check it out.
No one has captured the essence of the Harry Potter universe better than Universal Orlando, and now the resort is debuting its third installment of the wizard-themed lands with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic at the brand new Universal Epic Universe opening May 22nd. When you pass through the portal from Celestial Park, you might gasp because you're transported to 1920s Paris, and you really have to pinch yourself to make sure you're not dreaming. The attention to detail in this cityscape has set a new and very high bar for theme park theming. Word on the street here, guests could stay all day just exploring this world. There's so much atmosphere to soak in. Live music, super unique shopping, wand magic, an actual artisan wand shop, restaurants, bistros, a moonshine bar. It goes on and on. There's even Le Cirque Arcanus, a full theater show with live aerialists, puppetry, and brilliant special effects. But the marquee attraction inside the Ministry of Magic world is called Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry.
The details in the channel by themselves worth the price of admission. It's so immersive.
The adventure begins when guests travel by Metro Flu, a unique mode of wizarding transit inspired by the iconic Flu network seen in the films, to journey from Wizarding Paris to the British Ministry of Magic for the long-awaited trial of the infamous Dolores Umbridge.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Upon arrival, you'll enter the Ministry's jaw-dropping grand atrium and venture through other departments before boarding magical omnidirectional elevators to watch the trial take place. Until Umbridge attempts to escape, you, Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, and House Elf Higgledy go on a thrilling chase to find her.
How cool is that? I would say jaw-dropping is a good way to describe that. Once you enter into that queue area, that is something to see. We also want to play for you. There's one more world in Epic Universe that we haven't shown you yet today, since here on Fox 35 News Plus at least, and that is the How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk area part of the park, the fifth and final world at Epic Universe. Check it out.
From Celestial Park, you'll step through a giant portal into something called Isle of Berk, based on the Academy Award-nominated film trilogy How to Train Your Dragon. This world at Epic Universe is an authentic recreation of the rugged, rocky land where raucous Vikings and rambunctious dragons live together in hilarious harmony. Guests will discover 4 attractions, 1 live theater show, 3 eateries, and dragons everywhere. Do yourself a favor, though, and make sure to watch How to Train Your Dragon Parts 1 through 3 to get a full understanding of what you're witnessing here, because it is breathtaking. We got the chance to try a family thrill ride named after the film's main character called Hiccup's Wing Gliders. It's a roller coaster where Hiccup invites brave new Vikings to hop aboard his latest glider contraption. You'll soar into the sky, reaching speeds up to 45 miles per hour. And this one's a blast. Next to it is Dragon Racers Rally.
We're gonna flip it, baby. We're going for the flip.
The Isle of Berk's new Viking racers are in complete control of their trainers and can practice aerobatic maneuvers and barrel rolls up to 67 feet in the air. Over on the water, there's a wet and wild boat battle called Fire Drill, where you practice putting out fires using water cannons. It's a crucial skill to master when living with dragons. And speaking of dragons, they come to life on stage in a heartwarming story called The Untrainable Dragon. No videos or photos allowed of that show, but I can tell you it was incredible.
Hands down, one of the absolute best theme park shows I've ever seen. The production value is top notch. The storyline's incredible. Standing ovation. People were cheering. My recommendation, watch the first 3 How to Train Your Dragon movies, though, before you watch it. You will love it. 10 out of 10. Amazing.
And perhaps the marquee attraction inside How to Train Your Dragon, Isla Burke, is the meet and greet with the humble Hiccup and his adorable trained Night Fury dragon, Toothless.
Oh.
Mutual respect. Most dragons will, let you pet.
Beautiful. Pleasure meeting you, Toothless.
Pretty epic, I would say. Well, if you missed any of David's pieces showing all of the different worlds inside Epic Universe, you can find those right now on fox35orlando.com or on Fox Local, your TV app. You can find those videos right there. You can also find all of our coverage of Epic Universe and other theme parks as well. We have all of that coverage for you on fox35orlando.com and on Fox Local. Well, that is going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We appreciate you joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We are going to get ready to hand things off to John and Luann for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. So if you're watching on Fox Local or fox35orlando.com, just keep it right here for more news. Thanks for joining us.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5, I survived.
I'm just laying face first, just crying and screaming.
A beach trip turned nightmare. In a Fox 35 exclusive, we talked to a man run over while sunbathing.
Prom problems, hidden booze, students hospitalized. The one thing parents can do to help stop this before it happens to others.
And get ready, the rain is coming. I'm tracking when you could expect to see the rainy changes.
Plus, the epic first look. We're taking you inside the theme park that's raising the bar.
You literally step into a video game.
We start with the next big thing, cooler temperatures and the chance for storms headed our way, as you can see right there. Thanks for joining us today. I'm John Brown.
And I'm Luann Sorrell. You may have already noticed lots of clouds and plenty of wind this afternoon. Let's get right on over to Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren.
All right, Noah, there's actually some rain downtown. I got caught in one earlier today, and so here comes the rest, right?
Yeah, John, that was a really fast-moving shower that just hit you real quick when you were in downtown. In fact, that's way out over the ocean now, and most spots are dry. Actually right now for our area. A little shower here in northeastern Marion County, but temperatures are hot. It is very humid for how early we are in the year. Not much rain for the next 2-3 hours, but we're watching this decaying line of showers and storms that will impact the Gainesville area for any watch parties, or if you're going to watch the national championship anywhere around the UF campus. There'll be some rain coming in around when the game is starting or just before then, but to be frank, I don't really see much concern for us for any severe weather tonight. There is a tornado watch up in the Panhandle for the counties in red till 6, but that is where that will stay, I do believe, pretty confidently. All right, so here's the short-range futurecast. By about 7-8 o'clock, some showers coming into the Gainesville area. Notice this front weakens. By 10:30, it's coming into Seminole County, and by midnight, 1 o'clock, a few passing light showers into the Orlando area, not much. Now, tomorrow, the winds switch to the northwest. Could be some showers in the morning, but it will be a pretty cloudy day again for your Tuesday, but much cooler. Talk to you more about that coming up.
All right, thank you. Fox 35 exclusive tonight. A man from Ocala was laying on the sand in Ormond Beach. He's now in the ICU after he was run over by a car.
The driver was trying to back into a parking spot when she ran him over. Fox 35's Marie Edinger is joining us live now. So, Marie, you are the only reporter to speak with that victim. How's he doing?
He's at Halifax Health right now, still in the ICU. He had a surgery yesterday and might need more. He's going through physical therapy, did a bit of that today, and he's going to be recovering from this for the next several months. But incredibly, as you'll see, he is in pretty good spirits.
All of a sudden, a tire was going over my head.
Colson Janey went to the beach Saturday morning to watch the sunrise.
I just got a Jeep a couple weeks ago, and this was something I wanted to do.
By around 10:45 a.m., he was lying face down, sunbathing near the Cardinal Drive beach ramp, relaxing, dozing off a bit. And then the Volusia County Sheriff's Office says a 61-year-old woman went outside of the travel lanes to back her Jeep into a parking spot and ran Janey over.
I couldn't do anything but scream. It was just there was no words. It was just yells. It was just screaming, just bloody murder.
Incredibly, his head is actually okay, but he broke his left femur. He had a surgery Sunday to put a titanium rod through his knee and reconnect it. On the opposite side of his body, both bones in his right forearm are broken. He has third-degree burns on that arm too and might need skin grafting. He has cracks in his pelvis, but he says he feels fortunate.
I know it sounds crazy, but throughout this whole time, I just felt very. I was just thanking God that I still had feeling in my extremities.
The Volusia County Sheriff's Office says the driver, quote, did not seem impaired, but Janey would have liked a more thorough check of that.
There was no field sobriety test done. That's alarming. That's really alarming. That's probably my biggest concern.
The driver was cited for careless driving. The Sheriff's Office says its investigation is still active. This is actually just the most recent of incidents like these, but there have been a lot in the past year or so. We're going to be talking more about that tonight at 6. Also at 6, we have a brand new body-worn camera just into our newsroom, and I was able to speak with the family of the woman who was the driver in this instance. That's all coming up in about an hour. Reporting live from Volusia County, Marie Edinger, Fox 35 News.
Thanks, Marie. Also new at 5, 8 people are arrested accused of being a part of an international child pornography ring. And Fox 35's Marlisa Goldsmith is live in the Alert Center. So, Marlisa, 7 of those suspects are from right here in Florida.
Yeah, John, and 5 of those 7 suspects are from Central Florida. Law enforcement officers said it was the most disturbing case of child porn they had ever seen. Authorities found more than 6 terabytes of child sexual abuse material, also known as CSAM, sold through advertisements on TikTok. The group running the operation was led by Mehmet Berk Basyuk, a resident of Turkey. On the site, users could purchase 1.2 million videos and pictures of child porn, including infants, for $100. At least 4 of the suspects arrested today were money mules, accepting money from buyers in Florida, then pocketing a percentage and sending the rest to Turkey. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer denounced the behavior and vowed to make sure those responsible will be held accountable for their actions.
I can't tell you in words how gross this content is, but it shows the dangers, the evil that's out there. It is truly evil. And you've got my word that in this state, we are going to do everything we can to hold these people accountable. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again.
The Attorney General also says he wants Basyuk extradited to Florida. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement has shut down the website and is continuing to find more people who were involved in this operation. Uthmeyer says they will also work to put harsher restrictions on social media advertisements. Live in the Alert Center tonight, Marlisa Goldsmith, Fox 35 News.
Marlisa, thank you. A problematic prom for Winter Springs High School. Several students sent to the hospital Saturday night after sneaking alcohol into their prom held at SeaWorld. Well, this incident has sparked concerns ahead of prom season all across Central Florida. Fox 35's Caroline Coles is live with what parents can do to keep their teenagers safe. Caroline.
Hi, good evening to you. You know, what happened at Winter Springs High School is really serving as a wake-up call to all parents. In fact, tonight a local therapist says the key to preventing things like this from happening is just having an open and honest conversation with your students. Several students were hospitalized after drinking just way too much during prom at SeaWorld. Look, it was a night that was meant for celebrating. Instead, it ended in sirens. So therapist and mom, Dr. Janie Lacey, says parents should not wait for an incident to talk about alcohol. The time really is now.
And sometimes they don't know how to respond. So they'll just go along to get along type of mentality.
Lacey also recommends setting a no questions asked question word. That way teens know they can always call and ask their parents for help. No punishment at all. Reporting live not too far from the school tonight, I'm Caroline Coles for Fox 35 News.
Caroline, thank you. Central Florida is mourning the loss of a business titan and humanitarian.
David Siegel passed away on Saturday at the age of 89. He was the founder of Westgate Resorts, which opened in Kissimmee back in 1982 and then grew into one of the largest employers here in Central Florida. Jackie Siegel says her husband's legacy will be twofold. One is how hard he worked to achieve success, and two, his dedication to giving back to the community he loved. David had 12 children, including 8 with Jackie, and she says that the children gave her husband a renewed sense of purpose and a reason to keep going.
I think that having these children really gave him the strength. I mean, that made him fight, because if he didn't have these children, I don't know that 5 years ago he would have fought as hard as he has for his life. My 2 boys, David and Daniel Siegel, the 2 older ones, they're 24 and 25. They took over the construction of Versailles. They're also doing future construction projects for Westgate. And our surprise to my husband was to get a CO to be there by May 3rd so we can live in Versailles as a family. And unfortunately that didn't happen, but we were able to take him a few weeks ago when he could still speak and open his eyes, and he looked and he said, and we took a video, thank God, how impressed he is with Versailles and how proud he is of the boys, and that he now like has full trust of them being the next generation for the Westgate family.
A celebration of life service will be held for David Siegel on Friday. The family is still working out the details on a location and a time.
Fox 35 News at 5 is just getting started. Still ahead, we are going inside Epic Universe. Super Nintendo World promises to be a video game lover's dream. A sneak peek at what you can expect to see next month.
And a little later, we are also going inside Disney. We get to meet the newest resident at Animal Kingdom. That right there is Tucker, the baby giraffe.
And do you recognize this motorcyclist? FHP says they shot at another vehicle on I-4 over the weekend. What you can do to help track him down. You're watching Fox 35 News at 5, and we're back in just a few minutes.